Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Gates channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit like for more daily drama updates and spoilers. Your support truly means a lot and helps our channel grow every day. Now, let's jump straight into today's exciting update. Across Fairmont Crest, the tension is beginning to rise once again, and this time Chelsea, Naomi, and Madison find themselves standing together as an unexpected united front. The Tuesday, July 14th episode of Beyond the Gates promises to bring these three women into the same emotional storm, though the reason behind their sudden alliance could take the story in more than one dramatic direction. Their decision to band together may have something to do with the lawsuit against Madison, a legal battle already complicated enough to create serious pressure and conflict. But there is another, far more urgent possibility hanging over everyone. Bill is facing yet another frightening health scare, and this latest crisis may force old tensions and personal differences to temporarily fade into the background. When someone's life and well-being are suddenly at stake, even the most complicated relationships can shift in an instant, and that may be exactly what happens here. Whatever brings Chelsea, Naomi, and Madison together, their united stand suggests that something serious is unfolding and the consequences could reach far beyond the courtroom. The situation becomes even more intense when we remember where Madison and Naomi were when everything changed. The two women were in the middle of a deposition, focused on the lawsuit and all the legal pressure surrounding Madison, when shocking news arrived that Bill had been rushed to the hospital. In a heartbeat, Madison's priorities completely shifted, and the legal battle was no longer the only crisis demanding her attention. She instantly moved from being Bill's client into doctor mode, responding not as someone caught in a complicated case, but as a physician facing a potentially serious medical emergency. That sudden transformation speaks volumes about the gravity of Bill's condition, because whatever happened was serious enough to pull everyone away from the conflict already consuming them. If Chelsea, Naomi, and Madison are now joining forces, there is a very real possibility that they are doing it for Bill's own good, especially after he managed to frighten everyone around him with this latest health scare. Yet caring about Bill and actually convincing him to take care of himself are two very different things, and that may become the trio's greatest challenge. After all, this is Bill Hamilton, a man who is hardly known for quietly surrendering control or accepting that he needs to slow down. Even after being rushed to the hospital and frightening the people closest to him, Bill is unlikely to remain down for very long without putting up some kind of resistance. His stubbornness could quickly become another battle entirely, forcing Chelsea, Naomi, and Madison to stand together, not against an outside enemy, but against Bill's determination to push himself beyond what may be safe. They may have no choice but to become a united force if they want him to listen, recover, and finally understand how deeply his health crisis has affected everyone around him. At the same time, Bill's medical emergency could create major complications for Madison's legal situation, especially if she is pulled away from the case because of her responsibilities as a doctor. That could leave Naomi carrying even more weight on her shoulders, possibly forcing her to handle Madison's case herself while simultaneously dealing with the emotional fallout surrounding Bill. Suddenly, the courtroom drama and the medical crisis are colliding, creating a situation in which every decision could carry serious consequences. And just when it seems as though the situation cannot become any more emotionally complicated, Danny may unexpectedly be drawn into the unfolding drama. She suddenly receives a phone call that catches her completely off guard, prompting her to make an impromptu visit without much time to prepare for whatever is waiting on the other side. The question is where that unexpected call will lead her, and perhaps even more importantly, who will be waiting when she arrives. Fate has repeatedly found ways to bring Danny and Bill back into each other's orbit, no matter how complicated their history becomes or how much distance seems to exist between them. With Bill now facing another health scare, it is impossible not to wonder whether this emergency is once again the force that pulls Danny toward him. Carla Mosley continues to bring emotional depth to Danny, making her one of the Beyond the Gates performers deserving of serious daytime Emmys recognition. And a moment involving Bill's condition could give Danny another powerful emotional crossroads. But there is also the possibility that the mysterious call has nothing to do with Bill at all, meaning something entirely different may be waiting to capture Danny's attention and change the direction of her day. While others may be genuinely frightened for Bill, Haley's feelings are likely to be very different and far darker. If there is one thing she may be worried about when it comes to Bill's latest health crisis, it is probably the fact that he is still alive, because she has been doing everything she can to make sure that eventually changes. Her intentions continue to cast a dangerous shadow over the situation, turning what appears to be a medical emergency into something much more sinister beneath the surface. Yet Haley is not content with simply pursuing her own secret agenda. She also seems determined to stir up trouble wherever she can, creating conflict and then watching the consequences unfold from a comfortable distance. This time, whatever advice she gives becomes the spark that causes Thomas to clash with Naomi, adding yet another layer of tension to an already emotionally charged day. Haley may not even need to involve herself directly once the confrontation begins, because she knows exactly how to plant the seed and allow other people's emotions to do the rest. One can almost imagine her sitting back with popcorn, quietly enjoying the chaos she has unleashed while everyone else struggles to understand how the situation spiraled so quickly out of control. The conflict between Thomas and Naomi could prove especially explosive because it arrives at a time when Naomi may already be carrying tremendous pressure. With Bill's health crisis hanging over everyone and Madison potentially being pulled between her legal troubles and her responsibilities as a doctor, Naomi may already feel as though she is being forced to manage too much at once. Haley's advice, whatever form it takes, could push Thomas into a position that directly challenges Naomi, turning an already complicated situation into a deeply personal confrontation. Whether Thomas realizes that Haley has helped set this conflict in motion remains to be seen, but Haley's talent for stirring the pot means the damage may already be done before anyone recognizes her influence. Every argument she creates gives her another opportunity to watch relationships fracture while attention is pulled away from her own dangerous actions. In Fairmont Crest, chaos has a way of spreading quickly, and Haley appears more than willing to give it the first push. By the time Thomas and Naomi collide, the emotional fallout could become exactly the kind of distraction Haley wants. Elsewhere, Ted once again finds himself completely flabbergasted by Kat, and apparently it did not take very long for her recent actions to leave him frustrated all over again. The situation is particularly interesting because Ted previously seemed less than enthusiastic about the possibility of Thomas and Kat becoming engaged, and when Kat ultimately turned down Thomas's proposal, one might have expected Ted to feel relieved. From his perspective, that decision should have solved at least one of the problems that had been troubling him, yet instead of relaxing, he now finds himself stunned by the choices Kat has made afterward. Perhaps the engagement was never the only issue, and Kat's impulsive behavior is beginning to concern him in entirely new ways. Her sudden condo purchase may be at the center of his frustration, especially because it was hardly a small or insignificant decision. Buying a home on impulse is already enough to leave a parent questioning what comes next, but Kat's evolving living arrangement with Thomas makes the situation even more complicated. What appeared to be the end of one major commitment may actually be turning into the beginning of another. Kat may have rejected Thomas's proposal, but that does not mean the two of them are creating distance between each other. In fact, she is now kind of sort of moving in with Thomas, or perhaps the more accurate way to describe the situation is that Thomas is moving in with her. The distinction matters because Kat is the one with the new condo, while Thomas appears ready to become part of that space without completely giving up his own independence. He is keeping his place, meaning he still has somewhere else to go, while also planning to pay Kat rent as he spends more time living with her. On paper, they may be able to explain the arrangement as practical and carefully balanced, but emotionally, it raises all kinds of questions about what their relationship actually looks like now. They may not be engaged, yet they are taking a significant step towards sharing a life together, creating the kind of complicated middle ground that could easily leave Ted wondering exactly what Kat is thinking. If these are the recent actions that have left him flabbergasted, his reaction may be completely understandable. But if they are not, then Kat may have yet another surprise waiting for him. And that possibility is what makes the coming episode so intriguing, because Ted's frustration may only be the beginning of another unexpected twist. If the rejected proposal, impulsive condo purchase, unusual moving arrangement, Thomas keeping his own place, and his plan to pay Kat rent are somehow not the actions that leave Ted stunned, then the obvious question becomes what else Kat could possibly do. Whatever the answer may be, Tuesday's episode appears ready to send several lives across Fairmont Crest into new and increasingly complicated territory. Chelsea, Naomi, and Madison may be forced to stand together as Bill's health crisis shakes everyone around him, while Danny's unexpected phone call could pull her toward a situation she never saw coming. Haley continues working behind the scenes, stirring up conflict between Thomas and Naomi while pursuing intentions toward Bill that remain deeply disturbing. Meanwhile, Ted is left trying to understand Kat's latest choices as her relationship with Thomas moves into a strange new chapter that is neither a traditional engagement nor a simple romance, with medical danger, legal pressure, hidden agendas, unexpected visits, relationship conflicts, and impulsive decisions all colliding. Fairmont Crest is once again preparing for a day when one unexpected moment could change everything. As the emotional pressure continues to build across Fairmont Crest, it becomes clear that none of these storylines exist entirely on their own. Bill's latest health scare has the potential to become the center of a much larger storm, pulling Chelsea, Naomi, Madison, and possibly even Danny into the same emotionally charged situation. For Chelsea, standing beside Naomi and Madison may mean putting aside whatever complications exist between them and focusing on the immediate crisis in front of them. For Madison, the situation is even more complicated because she is caught between the legal battle surrounding her and the instinctive responsibility she feels when someone urgently needs medical help. Naomi, meanwhile, may be forced to become the steady presence holding everything together, even as pressure continues to mount from every direction. Their united front could become one of the episode's most powerful moments, especially if Bill refuses to accept just how serious his condition may have become. Bill's stubborn nature could make the aftermath of his health scare almost as difficult as the emergency itself. Being rushed to the hospital is frightening enough, but convincing a man like Bill Hamilton to remain still, follow medical advice, and accept the concern of those around him may prove nearly impossible. He is not the kind of man who easily allows weakness to define him, and that determination could quickly become dangerous if he tries to return to his normal life before he is truly ready. Chelsea, Naomi, and Madison may therefore find themselves confronting a man who believes he can simply push through the crisis, even while everyone around him remains shaken by what happened. Their unity may not come from agreement on everything, but from one shared realization. Bill has scared them, and they are not willing to stand by while he ignores the warning signs. If he refuses to protect himself, these three women may decide they have no choice but to protect him from his own stubborn instincts. At the same time, the legal complications surrounding Madison cannot simply disappear because Bill has been taken to the hospital. The deposition was already underway when the emergency interrupted everything, meaning the lawsuit remains unresolved and waiting in the background. Madison's immediate shift into doctor mode may have been necessary, but every moment she spends dealing with Bill's crisis could leave Naomi with even greater responsibility for what happens next in the case. Naomi may have to take control and handle Madison's legal battle herself, even while worrying about Bill and dealing with the growing tension surrounding Thomas. It is the kind of pressure that can test even the strongest person, especially when professional responsibilities and deeply personal emotions begin colliding all at once. And with Haley quietly adding fuel to the fire, Naomi may soon discover that the hospital and the courtroom are not the only places where she will be forced to fight. Then there is Danny, whose unexpected phone call could become the bridge connecting another emotional chapter to Bill's crisis. The moment that call comes through, something about it is powerful enough to change her plans and send her on an impromptu visit, suggesting that whatever she hears cannot simply be ignored. If the call concerns Bill, Danny may once again find herself facing the complicated bond that fate seems determined to keep alive between them. No matter how much history stands between these two, circumstances continue to bring them back into each other's lives, often at moments when emotions are at their most vulnerable. A hospital room, a frightening health update, or even the possibility that Bill's condition could worsen might force Danny to confront feelings she thought she had already placed behind her. Yet, if the call has nothing to do with Bill, the mystery becomes even more compelling because another unexpected situation may be preparing to pull Danny into an entirely different direction. While everyone else reacts to fear, uncertainty, and concern, Haley continues to move through the chaos with motives that are far more dangerous. Bill surviving another health crisis is hardly the outcome she appears to want, and the fact that he remains alive may only intensify her determination to finish what she has already set in motion. Her actions carry a chilling undertone because those around Bill may believe they are dealing with a natural medical emergency, while something much darker could be happening beneath the surface. At the same time, Haley seems perfectly capable of managing more than one scheme, and her decision to offer advice that ultimately drives Thomas into conflict with Naomi proves just how easily she can create trouble elsewhere. She does not necessarily need to stand at the center of the confrontation to enjoy the damage it causes. Sometimes all Haley has to do is whisper the right suggestion, push the right emotional button, and then retreat far enough to watch everything explode. For Thomas and Naomi, that explosion could arrive at the worst possible moment. Naomi may already be exhausted by the deposition, Bill's emergency, and the possibility that she will have to take greater control of Madison's case, leaving her with very little patience for another unnecessary confrontation. Tomas, however, may enter the situation believing he has a legitimate reason to challenge her, especially if Haley's advice has influenced the way he sees the problem. What begins as a disagreement could quickly become something much more heated, particularly if neither of them realizes that someone else helped create the conditions for the conflict. Haley, meanwhile, can remain comfortably removed from the consequences, watching as two people turn their frustration against each other instead of looking in her direction. The more chaos she creates, the easier it may become for her to continue pursuing her own agenda without attracting the attention she deserves. And while that conflict begins to simmer, Kat's choices continue to leave Ted searching for answers. He may have believed that Thomas's rejected proposal would bring an end to his concerns, but Kat's next moves have only made the situation more confusing. Instead of stepping away from Thomas after refusing to become engaged, she has purchased a condo and created a living arrangement that brings them even closer together. Thomas may technically be moving into her home rather than the two of them purchasing a place together, but emotionally, the difference may not feel particularly significant to Ted. The fact that Tomas intends to keep his own place adds another unusual layer to the arrangement, while his plan to pay Kat rent makes everything sound almost strangely businesslike. Yet beneath all those practical details lies one undeniable truth. Kat and Thomas are still moving forward together, even if they are doing it in a way that nobody expected. For Ted, that may be exactly what makes Kat's behavior so difficult to understand. She turned down an engagement which appeared to signal that she was not ready for such a serious commitment, only to make another major life decision that could bring Thomas into her daily world almost immediately. From the outside, the contradiction is impossible to ignore, and Ted may wonder whether Kat truly knows what she wants or is simply acting on impulse and hoping everything works itself out later. Her sudden condo purchase already suggests that she is willing to make enormous decisions quickly, and the evolving arrangement with Thomas may only deepen his concerns. Still, Kat may see the situation very differently, believing that she has found a way to build a life with Thomas without accepting a commitment she was not ready to make. That difference in perspective could create another emotional divide between father and daughter, especially if Ted's concern begins to feel like interference. Yet the greatest question remains whether any of these choices are actually the reason Ted becomes so flabbergasted. The spoilers suggest that Kat's recent actions are frustrating him, but with so many surprising decisions already on the table, there may still be another development waiting around the corner. Perhaps Kat makes another impulsive move, reveals a decision Ted never expected, or takes her relationship with Thomas in a direction that leaves him completely stunned. Whatever happens, Ted's reaction suggests that the tension between them is far from over, and Kat may have no intention of allowing anyone else to dictate how she lives her life. If she believes she is finally taking control of her own future, Ted's frustration may only make her more determined to prove that she knows exactly what she is doing. But in Fairmont Crest, confidence and certainty can disappear quickly when unexpected consequences begin to surface. By the time Tuesday's episode reaches its most dramatic moments, nearly everyone may find themselves standing at a crossroads. Chelsea, Naomi, and Madison must decide how far they are willing to go to protect Bill, especially if he refuses to cooperate with the people trying to help him. Danny's unexpected call could draw her into an emotional encounter that once again proves how difficult it is to escape the pull of the past. Haley continues to manipulate events from the shadows, seemingly disappointed that Bill remains alive while simultaneously creating fresh conflict between Thomas and Naomi. Kat's unconventional choices leave Ted stunned and frustrated, raising new questions about where her relationship with Thomas is truly headed. And through it all, the fragile peace of Fairmont Crest begins to crack under the weight of secrets, fear, stubbornness, and choices that may have consequences no one can yet see coming. Because in a world where one phone call can change the direction of an entire day, nothing stays simple for very long. A deposition can suddenly become a medical emergency. A doctor can become personally involved in the crisis of her own client. And three women who may have every reason to stand apart can suddenly discover that they need each other. A rejected marriage proposal can somehow lead to an even more complicated living arrangement, while seemingly harmless advice can ignite a confrontation between two people already carrying their own emotional burdens. And somewhere in the middle of it all, Haley continues watching, waiting, and calculating, knowing that every distraction may create another opportunity for her dangerous plans to move forward. Tuesday, July 14th, promises an episode filled with shifting alliances, unexpected arrivals, heated confrontations, and emotional choices that could reshape several relationships at once. As the walls begin closing in and the tension rises, the people of Fairmont Crest are about to discover that sometimes the greatest danger is not the crisis everyone can see, but the threat quietly hiding behind the chaos.